And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am thrilled to be hosting the incredible writer team of L.R. Dorn, composed of Suzanne Dunn and Matt Dorff, to talk about their brand new, red-hot new book, The Anatomy of Desire. Welcome. Tell us about your book.
Well, that's what it looks like.
You did. It's gorgeous.
It's in one line, it's the transcript of a true crime docuseries about a social media fitness influencer who is on trial for murdering her girlfriend.
Tasty. I know I love true crime, and I know we have a lot of true crime fans in the audience. Hands up. Give me some love in the comments if you love true crime too. So on that note, I want to get to every dirty detail of this book, the original, the crime and the docu-novel that you're creating and what that means. But first, I just want to welcome everyone who is watching with us on YouTube and on Facebook. Welcome, everybody. If you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, we're thrilled to have you. Here's the drill. Every Tuesday, I give you two featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. What happens on the series stays on the series. It's like Vegas, but for books. So you can ask Matt and Suzanne anything. And I know I already have so many questions about their writing practice, about the book, about how their marriage survives working together. We have so many questions. And I want to talk about the style that this is written in, which is court transcript, like from multiple points of views. So I got lots and lots of questions. So, and I know y'all do too. So just get those questions going in the comments, and I will get them right over.
And I'll give you a rest for just a second, Sarah, because Matt started out here. I just want to get both of our voices in the interview, because one of the interesting things that we have here is we work very hard to do two voices, two people as one voice. And so I guess I'll just say we're really, really honored to be going live with you on our pub date. This is our first live interview, and we look forward to connecting with the questions that you all have. So thanks for spending time. Thanks for spending time with us.
Yay. Well, thanks for coming on. Your book is getting amazing praise. So let's start with that. Josh Malerman, who's the New York Times bestselling author of Bird Box, raves that this is a truly innovative, and I love the use of that word, innovative, fantastic book. He says, I emphatically recommend it. It reads like your favorite podcast, the hit crime doc that you will want to binge. A brilliant brewing, I love alliteration, of progressive internet influencers with smaller town police doing their best to keep up. Structurally fresh, these talking heads will enchant you. Amazing review there from Josh Malerman. Christina is saying hello to you, Beth. Christina is a bookstagrammer extraordinaire. Christina, welcome. Great to have you. Leslie saying hi, top community member there. Hey, Leslie, good to have you. Sharon saying congratulations on the publication. Sharon, good to have you. Sylvia saying hi from Omaha. Welcome. Wow. Omaha. The one thing that I like about this pandemic is that we have gone global. So we have people watching from all over. Tell us where you're watching from with the in the comments. Christina is saying this is so lucky. Congratulations. Great to have you. Now, while everyone's getting their comments and questions ready, let's dive into Josh Malerman's praise. So a truly innovative, fantastic book. You guys wrote this in a very interesting way, which is from many points of view, and I'm going to open to the page so our audience can see from many points of view, and almost a court transcript. I'm hoping everybody can see this, like run of the show here. Why did you do that?
Well, I think we were looking to create something that had multiple points of view. Today's internet culture, we have, through comments, through ratings, we have so many voices that are chiming in from different places, geographically to different places, politically different places, morally, and capture that 360 degree, that my favorite comment in some of these reviews is it's a 360 degree look at a story. So rather than one author voice guiding the reader along the way, we have 20 voices of characters without any of that authorial interjection. You just have to listen to the voices and then make up your own mind about who's telling the truth, where the biases come from, etc.
We're huge story fans. So the most memorable stories that we've often shared with each other or experienced individually are those that require us to lean in and that somehow manage to engage us with this stickiness. So as Matt said, by using multiple characters talking about what's happening in a single instance, that panorama is created. And as the experiencer or the reader of the story, you're able to be immersed in it. You can look left, you can look right, you can have your own experience all within the context of the story. And we think it's super effective when you're unspooling something that's got a thriller mystery vibe to it. Because the goal is to have the reader, as they come upon the information or the experiences, wonder, is that relevant? Do I need to keep hold of that? Is that going to be something that's going to guide me faster than the storyteller is letting me be there? Don't we all like to arrive at what we think it's all about before others? So that just really activated reader and listener experience. And structuring the story as a kind of podcast telling, a podcast documentary. You know, for everyone that sat down on the couch as often as we have and watched our favorite docuseries, it's an intercutting of, you know, different sources coming into the story that keeps you kind of on your toes. And especially with this culture where we're used to things in quick little bits and bites, it's a constantly propulsive experience that's moving forward. So it has its benefits. It certainly has its things that we had to counter right about to make sure we created the intimacy with the characters, that there was that with that, as Matt said, that authorial voice that was missing, that the readers themselves could create that sense of intimacy with the characters. And Matt and I love a good challenge. So we're really right on Josh for going innovative. That's the biggest
compliment
props we could get. Big compliment to us.
So let's talk about the challenge. Suzanne, did you write some of the 20 voices? And Matt, you wrote others. I mean, was someone Cleo? Was someone the DA? Was someone, I mean, or did you just take turns? How did that actually work?
I'm actually going to take a turn since I was just speaking and let Matt start with that, and then I'll come in. I'll come in to join him.
Well, we had the origins of the story go back to Theodore Dreiser's An American Tragedy, which was published in 1925. His book was based on a true story, a true crime that happened in the first decade of the 20th century, in 1906, in upstate New York. And so it was filled with characters, the accused, the police who find him and arrest him, the victim, of course, the defense counsel, the prosecution. So all of the setup was already there for all of those characters. And I think that it was also important for us to contrast where the trial was taking place with where the characters came from. And so we've got West LA, you know, very hip, media oriented, you know, wealthy culture, and then a more rural conservative culture. And we thought that the clash of the two was important to capture both Theodore Dreiser's original and the situation with the true crime. So we parsed our characters and then started talking about where they would be coming from in terms of their points of view and how we could go for that maximum contrast between.
So, and adding on to that, with so many characters, and I think there are actually like 28, you know, speaking roles, and we did the multicast audio had 12, is that correct?
13
people cast. So we had a lot of speaking roles, but the central characters, however you want to look at it, is a group of 5 or a group of 7. And as Matt said, they come from a heritage. So there was the original people involved in the crime. There's Theodore Dreiser fictionalizing those original people. So we go from nonfiction to fiction. And then on top of that, we're updating or modernizing those characters. So we took the lead character and went from male to female. We took a love triangle and made it two women and one man instead of the traditional, one man and two women. We updated some of the roles, and that gave us a chance to answer your question, to kind of divide things out in the early research. So we'll do rundowns of our characters. Who are they? What's their background? How old are they? What are their thoughts, feelings, opinions, and beliefs? It's just a natural resting point we kind of get to. One or the other of us may have a little more resonance with a character. So as we're birthing them, we'll fill in the rundown on that character a little more. We make sure that all the central characters are up on our board. They get balanced with each other. And then we pretty much try to share them as much as we can. One of the things that we do is we talk a lot every single day when we're creating character and developing story, right? We're just constantly in conversation like this. So I'd say it's kind of a shared exercise, but initially there's always a resonance that one of us potentially feels more or less to character and will infuse based off of, kind of what we feel about the character.
Ooh, very cool. Leslie saying she's watching from Canada, so we truly have gone international. Welcome, Leslie. Great to see you. Christina says she is beyond impressed with the juggle of all of the characters and how you two weaved the story together. I also did, and something I want to say, you guys just also said that I want to touch on is, you got these LA social media influencers and you're talking about social media culture, and you get right into that on literally page 1 where Cleo is sharing, hey everyone, Cleo here. And as the sun offers rays of light, I offer rays of well-being. Our bodies are designed to move. Our breath is designed to sustain us. Every single day, I want you to do 2 things: move your body and breathe. Of course, those things are true, but there's also this social media culture of kind of, exploiting that. And you dive right into that. And I really, really enjoyed that part of it. Then as you said, you've got these conservative local, police and DA culture. And I thought you did that very artfully with, as they say, showing, not telling, with sort of little comments like, that sort of like, oh, they were 2 girls, which I'm okay with, as though that needs to be stated, And so there were these little subtle touches that really get straight into the culture of that. Yeah. Matt, what was it like for you? Did you let Suzanne take the lead on Cleo's voice, or what was it like for you to write a woman?
Well, Cleo, as you said, she starts out every episode with a statement, with a posting. Basically, it's something that happened.
Inspirational.
Yes. And Suzanne has been a yoga teacher for a long time, and I've learned a lot from her about yoga and gone on some retreats with her. And so that was really a matter of bringing that sort of that empowerment sense, And you look at a lot of these fitness influencers online, and they really are about empowering each other. You just look at the comments and you see these women who are so supportive of each other. I mean, they're not all at the same place fitness wise or body wise, or in terms of, what they're eating or, how they're seeing themselves, but they're all rooting each other on. And I thought that's so prevalent now in social media. And really, it's a relatively new thing, right? The last 5 or 10 years, even though it's been going on in places like yoga and fitness studios for a lot longer. And so those things, were more for Suzanne to sort of give a basis, and then for us to take them together and refine. But remember this,
And Suzanne, what about you said writing the male perspective? What about you writing the DA, writing all these male voices? What was that like for you?
For me?
Yeah.
It was fabulous because so between the 2 attorneys, you've got a point and counterpoint. And that's a space that I hang out in a lot. I try to, personally understand what it's like to be on the other side of a conversation or the other side of an experience. So while we did have gender attached to these point and counterpoint characters, it really was about the thoughts, feelings, opinions, and beliefs of what it means to be in opposition to each other. And I think we both think that those are human qualities. And we lay things like gender on them. We lay things like race and religion on them. We lay age on them. We lay a lot of things on them. But if you really reduce it, these are human qualities. So thinking about what a human needs to be like in order to be, defending and accusing, in order to be the victim and the potential person who's caused harm. It really allows us to, I would say, sometimes strip out the gender, bias on that, lay down the character, and then the final tweaks kind of put them into their final suits, or dresses, whichever way they're going there. But I wanted to touch back on you. I love that you read an early piece from the book. One of the first things that Cleo Ray starts out with is she said, I taped a quote above my sink. What does it matter if an influencer gains all the followers in the world only to lose her soul? So such a critical opening question for us. We think it's a universal question. It's the gateway to come into a gentle stimulation of the social media world, which has an impact on all of us, whether we're very engaged, moderately engaged in protest of it, whether our careers are built on it, whether we're just, hobbyist in it. It's impacting everyone. It
also has that particular quote has strong origins. It was in the original novel by Dreiser, spoken by Clyde's mother to him.
Wow.
And it's also in the book of Matthew.
Yeah.
It comes from the New Testament.
Very, very cool. And Cleo also gives us some warning signs that maybe she's not that together when she suggests that her followers know her best, and we should just ask her followers what they think of her. Of course, having presented this very curated, version of herself. So playing with themes on that as well. Margaret saying it is Yoga Teacher Mystery Writer Day. Yes, it is. Our last guest, my last guest, Carola Lovering, also a yoga teacher. There's so few of us who are both, Zen by day and mystery writers, right? That who are playing with the light and the dark, the Zen and the murders. So this is super fun.
Well, maybe if there are other yoga teachers out there, I'll kind of raise this for comment. One of the things I have found from teaching for so many years and watching the teachers that I've been attracted to is the best teachings often have story or narrative tied to them. Whether you're an early teacher, whether you're an experienced teacher, whether you're traveling to India and sitting with a guru, whether you remember back to your childhood stories that resonated with you. And for me, that was Aesop's Fable. The first time I heard like a tortoise and a hare story where I could identify, with elements like this, I thought, wow, there's been a teachable moment that my mother has given me by reading this. But the story is entertaining, the story's there, and I can get the messaging through the transmission of stories. So I know for myself, and I've said this for Matt, to Matt for years, in teaching classes and theming things, I have a theme and I'm aware of creating that little bit of a story arc on it that allows the recipient of the class or the participant, in the class to maybe activate within themselves what they see, what they think, what they feel.
Ooh, very cool. Rose is saying that she absolutely loved this book. Rose, thanks so much for joining us. Great to have you here. Margaret is saying, what a fascinating frame for structure. I just heard about a book written in the form of an auction catalog of a couple's belongings. My friend said it worked, so hey, why not? Wow, that's crazy, Margaret. Now, Matt and Suzanne, you guys are segueing over from the Hollywood power couple here. You're segueing over from writing screenplays, for writing for TV, for writing movies and miniseries. What was that like to switch to a book?
Well, a book is more work than a screenplay.
Yes.
However, book authors are also more respected in publishing than screenwriters are in entertainment. And so what we felt was we'd done a lot of scripts and had movies made, and that was very satisfying. But we wanted the satisfaction of having our voice come through and be the key factor in communicating with the reader. And there's no substitute for a book, because it's one author or one voice and one reader speaking directly to that person. And so that was important to us. It took us a while. I'd say we started about 5 years ago, and we wrote in the traditional prose forms, a number of books that way. And then we started talking about innovating and doing things different, and particularly in what we call the listening revolution with podcasts and audiobooks. So much of it now, is going through the earbuds, and that's not a fad. That's here to stay. And so we wanted to write toward those platforms.
And it's been super gratifying. Matt has done many more television movies or films, but as a writer, when you're done with your screenplay, you know that it's going to be interpreted by the talent who acts out the roles, by the director, by the producer, ultimately by the editor that puts the final cut together. And sometimes you can recognize yourself in your story in what the final output is. Sometimes you wonder where your story went along with it. So the experience of being able to control our story, what we created under roof here between ourselves, and see it go out just as we intended it to be, especially in the print novel form, the words, it's the reader who interprets. On the audiobook side, we had a phenomenal opportunity to be directly involved in selecting casting. So while we could not control how the audio talent read their parts, we worked with the audio team, gave our notes, and selected the voices that we thought would inhabit the characters well and provide nice contrast for each other. So that's a lot closer than I think either one of us have gotten in any movie project that we've experienced. And it's really gratifying. And also, it's all on our shoulders now. So no one else reinterpreted us but us.
Christina is saying the audiobook is phenomenal. So I want to talk about two things. Number one, you guys are known for talking about this being a feast for the eyes, an experience, a feast for the eyes as well as the ear. Tell us what you mean by that.
Well, from the very beginning, we wrote with the idea that it was going to be performed, that the lines were going to be spoken and read. And so, I mean, from the little details, like originally in An American Tragedy, Clyde's last name was Griffiths with an S. We changed that to Griffith, which is a very tiny change. We just took the S off it because we felt like when it was being read, Griffith would be easier to say than Griffiths.
Neither one of us could get the out and not feel like we were with a.
So there were a number of changes that were that subtle. But always visioning ahead to how it would sound. And along those lines, we read every single line to each other multiple times. She would play characters, I would play characters, and we would exchange them, looking for that right kind of rhythm. So much of writing is rhythm and tempo and being able to deliver something in the right cadence. And so that was. It was all going down on the page. So in that sense, we were writing for the eye, that people were going to read it. And by the way, the design of the book, you were showing it. I mean, we did that with a lot of care. Everything from the page ornaments where we took the pauses, the breaks, to the different, you'll see different font styles, right? There's a different font style between the interviews and the trial transcripts, so that the reader would subtly feel, right? So that the reader could subtly feel the shifts going on that would be more apparent in the audio version. So we really thought about this on as a two platform work, from the very beginning through, all the edits and trying to do something that worked visually as well as orally.
And I want to say, we just have to give like a major shout out to the William Morrow team for going through page layout and design so extensively and so specifically with us, because we would not stop with layout until we felt that the subtleties of the conveyance of multiple content sources coming together in transcript format allowed the eye to subtly understand what's going on without disruption and yet still lean in for engagement. And so I think they learned something, we learned something, we have it down, but really, really, they were fabulous in meeting us step for step on this one.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Margaret is wondering, is this Theodore Dreiser as in Sister Carrie? I don't even know what you guys are talking about. Fill us in.
Yeah, Sister Carrie was his first novel, published in 1899.
Margaret for the win.
Yeah, no. So it's just his two most well-remembered novels are An American Tragedy and Sister Carrie. And American Tragedy was made into a movie twice, two big American productions. Paramount Pictures in 1931 called An American Tragedy, and then Paramount Pictures in 1951 called A Place in the Sun, a very famous movie with Elizabeth Taylor and stuff. And so to give you just a little bit of another level of treat here, if you can see in the background, our background, those framed, those are framed Edith Head original sketches, costume sketches.
Oh my God.
Not one of them, we don't have A Place in the Sun, but we have, there are several other sketches that she did. And she did the sketches, she did the costumes for A Place in the Sun, won the Academy Award for Best Costume Design, black and white, because in those days they gave two awards, one for color and one for black and white. And there's someone ringing
this is going to go lots. So you're going to keep on talking. So we have a package that needs signature. I'm going to exit. That's the doorbell. I'll be back. This is live.
Sarah, this must happen all the time, right? Because people
usually. Hey, you don't have a yappy little dog. Someone rings my bell, you're going to hear the love of my life, my little yappy dog. Let the whole world know about this. So I am a huge old movie fan. Cary Grant was my favorite crush. I love Edith Head's costumes. So I am just nerding out, freaking out, loving the Edith Head original costume sketches from A Place in the Sun behind you. Oh my God, this is so freaking cool.
Yeah.
Oh. Margaret is saying that she still hasn't worked herself up to read Devil in a White City. True crime always feels more suffocating than crime fiction. Funny you should use the word suffocating, Margaret, because in this book starts out with a drowning. So you're literally suffocating. So let's go back to this. There was a true crime. A crime that happened. Theodore Dreiser wrote about that. He fictionalized it. You're fictionalizing it, updating it, modernizing it, adding in a same-sex love triangle, which I loved that fresh, inclusive detail. And Theodore Dreiser has said that this really did spawn the genre of true crime. This is when in 1906, America really started to get interested in true crime and obsession, which continues to this day. And you guys really dive right into that in telling it in podcast style. So any thoughts on that?
It was a process of discovery for us, really, because we started with A Place in the Sun. We both knew the old movie and knew that it had been based on a previous work. And I should say, we talked about the format of doing a transcript of a docuseries before we even had An American Tragedy or The Crime. So we had the form first, and then we went looking for the content. And we talked about a number of different things, but we both shared a love for A Place in the Sun, knew that A Place in the Sun was based on a famous novel that was written in the 1920s, went back to the novel, which is 840 pages. 840 pages. Read that each, listened also to the audiobook. And we realized that so we had the sturdy, crime, investigation, arrest, arraignment, trial, verdict. We had that spine. It was very strong. And then as we continued to research the Dreiser, we realized how much of his story he'd based on this true crime. I mean, very much the entire outline of the crime, the trial, the verdict, the rowboat, the lake, the drowning, all of that was in the original crime. So even though he fictionalized a lot, obviously dialogue and many scenes that he had to invent, and was doing a panorama of American society because that was his thing. He was in a way the inventor of the nonfiction novel, which passed on to Truman Capote in Cold Blood in about 40 years later. So even though this wasn't called a nonfiction novel, people, the crime was referenced. The original crime was referenced, but wasn't a major element in the promotion of the book or in the movies. And but we discovered that it was largely based on that. And so that was just a fascinating thing to us.
And as Matt said, what's really cool is that we had the form, we had this idea of what we wanted to do. Just to kind of restate that and get really clear. So we come from film and television writing backgrounds. We have a massive love of books, and we recognize that an audio revolution is just getting going. So let me just call those the three platforms: film, television, audio, and book publishing, and print. And we're thinking, what makes good sense to us is let's start with a documentary, a docuseries that's been produced, but it's really fictitious. So Duncan Macmillan has not made a docuseries, but he is the organizer of the story, telling the story as if you could actually Google, this is a docuseries, and find it on one of your favorite streaming providers. You can't, because it doesn't exist yet. However, we have done the book version and we have done the audiobook version. And we think now what is natural is for that pull to audience to say, I want to see it as an adaptation. And so we cleverly thought that this was a very good way as storytellers for us to be able to potentially work cross-platform with as much control, creative control as we could get. So again, I'll go back to Josh Malerman, who nailed it when he said, these guys were innovative. He got what we were doing, West Coast to East Coast, with the West Coast piece actually being a piece of fiction that still needs to be filled in. And by that, I mean the film and television side. And we're really, really proud of that idea that we had that caused us to go looking for story. And Dreiser's story was a perfect one to drop into our idea.
I love that. Margaret's saying, creating a market for new demand, you crafty writers.
Yeah.
Beth is saying, I hope you realize how difficult it will be to now read any novel that does not have this depth of thought behind it. I just may be ruined as a reader because of you. You're ruining us. No, Suzanne and Matt, I love it. Yeah, exactly. And you're working in really innovative ways, again, from your film and television backgrounds, which is really cool. Really cool to see. What was the hardest part about writing this book?
Button chair every day.
Yeah.
I mean, beyond that, we'll talk about things.
I mean, it was the timing was, fortunate in that we started writing at the same time lockdown happened. So, I mean, fortunate for us in that the phone wasn't ringing with social invitations, and we could avoid the rest of the world and it wouldn't look any different than anyone else. And so that was so it lent itself to 7 days a week, getting through one draft after another. And then because we're debut writers, and I'm sure you've talked about this with other writers, first timers, after you write the words, then comes the book production, right? Which is the editing and first time we went through this, a sensitivity read.
Oh yeah. Who were your sensitivity readers?
Well, they're anonymous.
So a rather new function from William Morrow, anonymous to us outside
But I mean, what were they reading for? In what population?
All context of where we might have accidentally inflamed, unless we dramatically meant to inflame, where we were insensitive. So across across the board because we were creating tensions, in different areas. And some of the notes and the pointing things out, as much as we would look at things and say, if we mean to inflame, let's own it. If we've been accidentally insensitive to something, we don't want to be that. When a few things were pointed out to us, it was so incredibly valuable that we, I think, upped our game in terms of being able to read even more clearly than we had been reading ourselves.
It was really helpful to have that other pair of eyes, someone completely objective from outside the publisher, who's a reader, who's looking at these things with with their own perspective on it, and then to get that back. Some writers wouldn't go for that, but we embrace it because we thought that's really helpful to get that other perspective.
Absolutely.
I wanted to tag on because sometimes we share the same answer, sometimes we have a slightly different answer, but like, what was most challenging about this? So we were incredibly fortunate as debut writers to have David Heifel, William Morrow, HarperCollins purchase our book in a preempt as a partial manuscript. So we were only partially written when he said, guys, we're doing this with you. So one of the challenges that I experienced is in those first couple months as we were searching for the title of the book and still writing the first draft, like our truly first draft, filling in the pages for the first time. We always feel that titles sometimes influence a little bit of the tonality in the book. It's an open field for us. We're writing, we're basing it off of Dreiser and the true crime structure. But I would say those couple of weeks when we were title searching and filling in the page for the first time, I don't know that it was like a struggle hard, but it was certainly invigorating in the challenge.
Invigorating. I love that. Yeah. Rose is saying, fun fact, Jeopardy question the other night, the name of Theodore Dreiser's novel about the trial of a murder by her lover. Okay, you guys need to put that up on social media. You need to put the Jeopardy title, Timely, the universe is bringing you this sign. Rose, thanks for sharing. We need a screenshot of that. You guys got to dig that out and put it everywhere. Oh, great. Sharon is sharing the Crime Reads link. It's right there in the comments about Theodore Dreiser and the origins of America's fascination with true crime. Sharon, thanks for finding that link for me. I appreciate that so much. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anybody's comments. Oh, Rose is saying she's loving the podcast by HarperCollins featuring his book. Tell us about the podcast.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, so the book is designed as a docuseries in 7 episodes. And so HarperCollins, the audio department, are creating short extractions from the longer hour-long episodes and putting them out as a podcast, just 3 to 5 minutes each, as sort of a teaser, about the episode to come. And
you can find them on our marketing. You can find them on our website, lrdorn.com. That's a little hawking right there. You can find them on the HarperCollins site on our author page. But it's really fun. Every Monday, another mini episode, which is with another podcaster on top of our podcaster, kind of chiming in and teasing it up and giving a nice excerpt sample. And it's really delicious, really delicious. One of our
I just popped that into the comments. So everyone watching on Facebook, watching on YouTube, it's in your comments now. So you can go to lrdorn.com. You can check that out and learn more about Suzanne and Matt as well. So definitely do that.
And back up to all the episodes are great. We're in 1, 2, 3. 3 is launched. Back in episode 2, though, our main character, Clea Ray, is being voiced by Shelby Young, who this is her first audiobook narration. She's a vocal talent phenom. She's really quite popular on TikTok with more than 2 million followers, but she's never done this before. And what's really cool is that the sample under the second version of the podcast is her going kind of toe to toe under first confrontation with Owen Mason, the district attorney. So you see all of this personality and this caught for the first time in the lens of maybe being accused and trying to figure out how she's going to show up for this. And I think it's just a delicious sampling.
Ooh, yeah. And I saw her post and you reposted how excited she was to do her first book, which is so cool. Margaret is saying she also loved my TikTok and she predicts my next one will have a knife in it. Margaret is watching from Portland, Oregon today. Margaret, fly to Boston when it's safe and we'll TikTok together. Maybe we could reenact the cover of this book. And actually Sharon put an amazing thing up on Instagram today, a gorgeous greenish brackish water shimmering with her arm holding the book, which shows this arm underwater. So I loved that. You're getting so much action on TikTok and Instagram. These are all so gorgeous. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any of your comments. Margaret saying, totally interesting. Never would have realized this from outside the industry about the change from a screenplay. Margaret, I also felt that way because I think from over here in the book industry and certainly from the East Coast, I think Hollywood's so glamorous. I think screenplay writers are so glamorous. So it's so cool to get the inside scoop from that. Thank you. Oh, Margaret saying, sounds like you guys could charge admission for your Saturday night work session. Absolutely. I love that. Sharon, thank you for the hearts. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anybody's comments here. Oh, this is a great one. Christina would like to know, what direction is your next work heading? Ooh, great one. Give us the skinny guy.
So actually, there will be news about that coming out shortly. So we wouldn't talk about the content yet, but we can say we will be playing with the form again.
More to come. Yes, more to come, and stay tuned soon. And that's not meant to not answer the question, but more to come.
We will have an announcement coming out shortly.
Okay, great. We need to know more. Margaret is wondering, I do too, about the Margaret Head originals. Where did you get them? Tell us the story behind those. I love Edith Head costumes as well.
Well, so I have been a longtime movie poster collector. And so they just came up in one of the places that I was looking for movie posters. And I looked at them and I thought, what's great is, we have several. So we have 10 on the wall behind us and we have more. And so they make really great little pairings, or you put 2 or 3 together and they're all different. They're all very, like from different movies. The titles aren't named. So it's kind of like a guessing game. Like, what movie was this from? But we're old Hollywood fans and we just thought, and this was before, we put the display up before we started the book. So it just happened that then we realized, oh my God, we saw her credit there on A Place in the Sun. And we thought, oh, perfect. Well, she'll help channel the story for us as well.
And, back in the day, but even now, this is an example of where a picture's worth 1,000 words. If she's costume designing and she's trying to get it right to convey to everyone for the buy-in that this is the direction to go, her sketches have the characters flowing, the movement of fabric, the trying to convey what this is going to look like from a one-dimensional chalk pencil sketch to actually being brought to film. So there's just so much richness in that translation that a viewer experiences and filling in the detail, that I know it's not by accident that we hung these up, because that is in fact how we experience story when we read and listen to and watch. And really, as we said earlier, are challenged to lean in and build that relationship with the material.
We'll get a little closer on these.
Oh yeah, get a little closer. How many do you have all together?
Well, there's 10 here.
Ooh, oh my God. They're gorgeous.
Edith Head
signed that one.
Signed that one.
Oh my God, this is so cool. This is so amazing. Oh, yes, please.
I love that one in the center, the white one.
Stunning. Oh my God, this is amazing. Edith Head's original sketches for A Place in the Sun, starring, of course, Elizabeth Taylor. Her original signed sketches. That is amazing. What a treasure. What a treasure. Oh my God, this is so cool. Thank you for sharing those.
Oh, you're welcome.
Ooh,
this happens to be our background too.
They're gorgeous.
For a lot of our Zooms and interviews.
And Nisa would like to know, what drew you to retelling this story? Why this one?
Can I go first?
Yeah,
I'll go short and first. So one of the things that I think is so phenomenal about this story is that there's really not a clear answer, whether you're looking at physical evidence or better yet, the moral center of the story. I'll use the he first, but did he or our character, Clea Ray, did she do it or not? And this, without giving anything away, when we come right up to intention and what we're intending to do or what our thoughts are about something or we're thinking about something, what happens if you're thinking about something and maybe you're even starting on the path of intending to, have action follow your intentions. But at the last minute, you change your mind and you put it in reverse. Did you or did you not? Are you or are you not responsible for the outcome? Did you set a ripple off? Where is going too far going too far? We have not to give away what Alana Belknap says, what we say in the courtroom, but we talk about if you're really angry with someone, you pick up a knife and you intend to plunge it, at them to kill them. And at the last minute, you stop, but the person stumbles backwards and falls off a cliff. Did you or did you not set that in play? Are you or are you not responsible? The gray area between black and white that every human on this planet crosses over multiple times a day is a universally interesting space.
I'd also say that it's very much about the pursuit of the American dream, the pursuit of material riches, the pursuit of higher status, the pursuit of beautiful lovers. American tragedy is. And in our world today, though there's many, many technological changes and cultural changes, in that sense, the desire, the anatomy of desire, the desire for those things, the desire for more.
Desire to acquire.
For acquisition. And so that was the theme of his novel in 1925, and it hasn't aged at all. In fact, it's in many ways even more intense today.
The desire to acquire. Oh, interesting how timely and how timeless that is. Christina is saying she loved that part about the action and intention. Very yogic there and also very legal. That was a fascinating and thought-provoking part of the book. One of the many thought-provoking questions that you all raise. So I guess I am also curious, in terms of you two being a real life couple and a writing couple, how does that actually work? Do you wake up and you're like, okay, Matt, get to work, and Matt's still eating his cereal? I'm just so fascinated. I'm not sure my marriage would survive working together. My husband provided creative feedback on my last book, and our marriage almost didn't survive. So I want to know how this works.
Well, the basis is we both love story, and we're both invested in the art and the craft of storytelling. And I think we both have very strong instincts. When Suzanne says something and it feels right, then I know it's right. And I think vice versa. And I think so we really do reinforce each other. And, there are times when we disagree, a lot of disagreement. But out of those disagreements come something better. And so, I was a lone writer, a solo writer for many, many years, and having all these conversations in my head. I think the challenge for most solo writers is you get it to a certain place and you go, okay, it's okay. I can move on, but here, there's no, it's okay. We can always do better, and on both ways. So it really does bring out our best selves.
Was there a part you disagreed about that you can share?
I think the disagreements tend to be about the smaller things. Really, like word choices and sentence structure. And
we'll give a rundown on one. So when we were trying to come up with the right canoe, the right boat, I'm an avid kayaker and wanted to take technical lead on this. And Matt did great internet research and brought a lot of information. But there was a little bit of
No disagreement though.
Well, we did. We couldn't agree on what the canoe model would be for quite a while until I finally prevailed.
But that example though shows she wanted it to be technically perfect.
Oh, yeah.
So I was okay with the general. Okay, so it's a canoe. It's so long, so wide, and so. But that led to one of the great moments in the courtroom, I think, when the DA is questioning Cleo with the yoke in the middle, you know, and
would she stumble over it or just sit down?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have a love of like your Andy Weirs. If you're into something and you know it, the Martian style, then you better get it right if you're opening up your mouth when talking about something. So this is an area where I definitely was like, listen, I know my struts, I know my paddles, I know my canoes, I know my kayaks, and that could never happen like that. So we pulled out dining room chairs, we pulled out broom handles, we reenacted what the canoe would look like. If and when someone stands up and takes any motion, how would you capsize it? Where would you trip? Again, without giving away anything too much. So we didn't disagree as it got laid down on page, but we definitely worked with each other and had a slightly different viewpoint of how it would lay down.
Yeah. Well, right. Details, going further with the details.
I love that. Very, very cool. Let me ask you. All right, guys, we have just 5 minutes left. If you have any questions left for Matt and Suzanne, get them going, because guess what? It is lightning round time. I'm going to put our lightning round sticker up. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and get them going for Matt and Suzanne. And I see one coming in here. Margaret saying this is exactly what she was saying. This would be such a great live show. It really would be a great live show, Margaret. I'm seconding it. Motion,
thank you, Margaret.
I love that. While everyone's thinking of the last questions, I will put a question on to you. What do each of you? I'd like to hear from each of you. What is one or more things that you would like people to walk away from this book having felt, having learned, having experienced, having transformed?
Go ahead.
Oh, I go first. So I'll go back to the question that we kind of raised with Cleo Ray in the beginning. What does it really matter? If you acquire something, if you desire and acquire something, only to have that moment where you sit still within yourself and realize that there's still something missing, or that you're empty, or the acquisition of it wasn't fulfilling. So for us just to slow down enough for a moment, not everyone has to want to get on a yoga mat or head to meditation. Slow down for a moment. Check in, do a meet and greet on yourself, and stay true to your course of who you are and what's going to make you happy. If we all do that, if we can take that little bit of takeaway away, I think we're going to reinforce the connective tissue in our community that's so essential, not only in local and national, but worldwide. And as we come out of this period that we're in, we must recognize that we're all connected to each other, and it makes a difference.
Oh, I love that. Spoken like a yogi. And over to you, Matt. Let's hear from you.
That's a hard one. Go first. That's a hard one to follow. Oh my God. I mean, there are many things. I think that the character of Cleo Ray, someone who comes from a difficult upbringing, who had problems with their parents, who didn't feel like they fit in anywhere, and then had a dream for themselves, or had a vision for themselves of how they would achieve something, how they would succeed. And then that became a very clear goal, to the extent that she changed her name, after graduating from high school. And she wanted to shed that past life and become, the butterfly who has a new life and the life that she wants, and then getting caught up on the past and the things that she hasn't reconciled yet in her past, and the secrets. Because that's really what happens, is about a woman who presents one persona to the world, and then her past comes back to haunt her, the past that she thought she could get away from. Yes. So, being able to get to reconcile and get peaceful with your past, no matter what that was, is a really important thing. So it doesn't catch up to you, and harm you in a way that you hadn't foreseen.
Yeah, Cleo's past surprised me. Not even the incident that shall not be named, but the parental aspect. I didn't see that coming. Anissa is saying, thank you. Such a great chat. Anissa, so great to have you as always, top community member there.
Thank you.
Oh, great question coming in here from Rose. What made you choose to present Cleo as sexually fluid in her relationships? Interesting that she has a homosexual and then a heterosexual relationship. I was also really interested in that because, and you talk about that actually in the book about how, that, someone says, well, we millennials, we don't care about these titles. We don't care about these, labels that you're trying to put on us. Tell us a little more about that. Let's dive deeper.
Well, the character of Cleo, her cousin at one point says, and as does, and that's echoed by the psychologist who testifies on the stand, that Cleo is invested in what she sees in someone else's eyes. And gender doesn't matter to her. If someone is
if someone beams
expressing
attraction at her, she's attracted. If someone beams approval, then she's comfortable. If someone beams adoration, then she feels admired. So the sense of love coming from a background of scarcity and deprivation means that she's still in a place in her life where externally, if you reflect what she's craving or desiring or seeking, then she feels attraction. And it's just it's about the person and the experience that she's receiving from them that most matters to her at this point in her life.
And not gender.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what gender it's coming from. She locates herself in that other person's eyes.
Mm. And the cousin also says, well, she just likes pretty people too. It can be a little shallow sometimes at the beginning. She's attracted to pretty people. So whether it's, the really attractive guy with more followers and then she gains more followers and she's vibing off of that, or whether it's her beautiful girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's attracted to beauty in all of its many forms as well. And that's an interesting trajectory, again, from seeing her start as, I just like pretty people, to that deeper, I'm
turning to seek it and find it within her, because we all do have those things that we're outwardly seeking. We're probably the things that we crave the most inside. And I really do believe that almost everyone has everything that they're seeking outwardly within themselves. If they can just, as Matt said, kind of locate it within. So she's still locating outside of herself, and that's fine.
Exactly. It's spoken like a yogi once again. And Rose also pointing out that she also likes who can help her succeed. Absolutely. And she talks about, and you sort of see that by the campfire from the other influencers saying, well, she wasn't that big. She picked up, 250,000 followers on YouTube or whatever when she started, dating and hanging out with us, and they all started amplifying each other and cross-posting each other. And so there is that businesswoman within her, the strategist who's noting opportunity and not shy to move on that.
And the question I would throw out, is it make a difference? If a man is climbing, is that cool? If a woman's climbing, is that equally as cool? Or are there a couple other adjectives that maybe go with that cool? I don't know. I've experienced it both ways. She's just seeking the American dream. One of the things about social media and influencing is it costs you very little to get in to this industry or to seek this profession or to try to have an experience of yourself. It's an area where I think females, that young people, young women can try to build something for themselves, a brand. There aren't gatekeepers traditionally that are stopping them from this. Women may have high verbal, skills and abilities. We may be well suited for this because our natural lives have us historically multitasking. We are the caregivers. We are the centers of family. We're built for this social communication revolution. And there's no shame in the game of pulling up a seat at the table and, giving it a go.
Rose, thank you so much for that question. She's saying it costs you little financially, but I think it costs you a lot emotionally.
Yeah.
Yes, Rose, a good insight there too. And what is the cost of selling out? That's all, and losing your authenticity and constantly presenting something that's not your truest self to the world. And what's that like? And again, such a thought. One of the many, many thoughtful and thought-provoking questions, comments, conversations that you, Suzanne and Matt, are bringing to the table for us to devour and to really start to noodle through. So thank you for that. Rose, thanks for the great questions. Thank you all for joining us. I see we are out of time. So I just want to say, Suzanne and Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our mystery and thriller fans. You guys are the best audience. I say it every week, but it's true. I will see you next Tuesday. Matt and Suzanne, thank you for joining us all the way from California. And we will see you next time right here. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, guys.